The superstars of Fan Control Football Season 2.0 are not only the who's who of celebrity team owners and influencers, not the 21 million live views of our Emmy-nominated broadcast. Across Twitch, DAZN, Fubo, NBCLX, Peacock. Or our highlights that scored over 100 million views. And we can't forget best-in-class sponsors. But the biggest star of Season 2 is our play-calling app that allow fans to control the action on the field. Fans pick a team, pick a play, 4 run plays, 4 pass plays to choose from. The play with the most votes is called in real time.
We got it.
This is where video games and live action come to life. And now, Fan Control Sports and Entertainment brings you Fan Controlled Hoops, where fans call the shots. Coming 2023, the future of sports is here, and it's Fan Control. Power to the fans.
Are you ready for it?
This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show.
What is up, guys? How are we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Info Arcade Show. I am Info Arcade, aka Jaden, and you are watching the best show on this channel on Twitch.tv, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter every single Tuesday night. This is the only time you can watch the show. This is the only show that's airing. So therefore, it is the best show at this time of day and week. With me, as always, is the legendary king himself, Mr. Royalty, AJ King Ka. And as a special guest host this week, we've got Frosty here on the channel as well. Glacier Boy legend, #1 fan. Welcome back. Boy, thank you for coming on the show today. And guys, how are we doing? Guys, how are we doing?
I mean, I had a pretty bad weekend, so I'm not doing great. But
no.
I'm ready to talk some sports. So
okay. So what you're saying is we've got a lot to use to we've got to like dive into this to distract you from just all the chaos that happened over the weekend.
Yeah. It was not a fun
You're talking
weekend.
You went to Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
You went to a wedding.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I know the first part of the story because if you follow AJ on Twitter, you know that it was not pretty, and there's some words probably to be had, but you should just let people in a little bit.
I mean, so to make a very, 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 very long story short, I got my bag, I think, stolen. So my check-on from Delta got taken, and somehow... Yeah, it ended up getting to me just in time because it was my buddy's wedding. So I got my suit in. So everything was okay. But then the wedding was awkward. And like there was a weird moment and like just awkward family stuff happened after that too. So it was just like.
Was it one of those like shotgun weddings or one of those weddings where like.
No.
Not everyone. Okay.
No, it was just like he's like an old friend and like.
Gotcha.
His reaction to seeing me wasn't what I was expecting. It was like better than what I was expecting, but like it was just weird for the situation that like he acted like I was his brother and I wasn't a part of the groom, like the party, and everybody like a lot of people thought I was supposed to be, and like just there's more to it and like stuff, but it is what it is. Well, and then family drama. So just a great intro from my fiance to like all that. It was fun.
I was gonna say, so you flew in Atlanta, and I had a friend fly into Atlanta a couple days ago, and they literally like Atlanta has been a mess like lately. If you've been flying in or out of Atlanta, I flew in there a couple weeks ago. I had a plane literally not even show up for a flight.
Yeah.
Like they had to pull one out of the hangar. It took 2 hours. It was just a mess. I had another guy that I know who was flying in, and literally as they're about to land, they had to like redivert and go back in the air because there was another plane that was on the tarmac attempting a takeoff as these guys are attempting a landing, and they had to like divert back like so they could avoid a collision. Like just crazy. So I might be driving to Atlanta come hoop season or football season at least until things clear out. Maybe.
Yeah.
Frosty, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. You know, I haven't had wedding drama in a while. The last wedding I went to was bonkers, but that was a long time ago. So good otherwise, you know. Yeah. Well, the last wedding I went to, someone accidentally got set on fire with a sparkler. So that was interesting. Yeah. So you know, that's bad too. Yeah. It was
let us know in the chat what your craziest like wedding experience was. Like I'm curious to know. That's like a quick topic throughout the night. Like what's your crazy wedding experience story?
That'd be a good one because I want somebody to make me feel better because it was awkward. Like it was just an awkward situation, man. Like that's what the whole week. That was the title of the weekend for me. Awkward situation.
Have you ever been to a wedding when there was a fight at the wedding?
Yes.
I've seen some interesting fights at weddings.
Usually because they're too drunk. Let's be real. They've imbibed one too much.
It's weirder when they're not. Just saying.
I can imagine that's true.
Yeah.
I used to DJ weddings a long time ago, and so I saw crazy stuff. But it paid well, and I got good food every time, so I can't complain. Anyway, guys, if you're wanting to know what the show is, this is the Info Arcade Show each and every week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. We hop on here to talk sports, video games, pop culture, what's happening in television, you name it. It's all right here. And we just kind of hang out with you guys. Everyone that's joining us live, like C4 Credit, Dare to Knife, Yabba Stream, Freddie Airmail, Jason Wright. You guys are all tuning in for multiple platforms, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You guys can join us each and every week on those platforms and jump in the conversation. Or if you want, you can go back and listen to this on podcast services around the globe, wherever you get podcasts. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in today. We got a really good show tonight. And the reason why we wanted to bring in Frosty is if you are involved in fan-controlled sports, there's one thing you probably have recognized about Frosty through Discord and social media is that the man knows baseball like nobody else. It's true. And we do have some baseball topics to cover tonight. We also have some NFL. We've got some basketball. And we're going to go ahead and kick it off with first up right now. So let's dive right in.
Let's go.
And let's go with the first topic. This one is kind of on everyone's brain right now. March Madness, and it is madness, absolutely madness. We have seen so many brackets, so many hopes and dreams just absolutely crush and destroyed this year in March Madness. So, guys, I wanted to take a moment just to talk about what we are looking at. And like this, to me, it's crazy. Like, it feels like we've gotten to the round of 16 so fast. Like it just feels like it's flying by because it's only been a week. You know, it's just insane. But I'd love to dive into just some of these games, you know, some of these upsets and talk about what you guys think your biggest like upset has been thus far. I'm going to go ahead and let AJ start off. AJ, what are some of the upsets that you have highlighted here, just that are just absolutely just mind-blowing to you that have happened?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go for it. This has been a ridiculous March Madness. The fact that we've seen so many ridiculous upsets is kind of maddening to me. Like we got that Fairlane Dickinson over Purdue 16-1. We got UMBC over Virginia. And then Duke losing to Lehigh. What? It just St. Peter's beating Kentucky. This should not be happening. Middle Tennessee beating Michigan State. You would never, if you literally went to Vegas and was like, I'm betting on this, everyone would have laughed you out of Vegas. They would have said you are crazy. Now, they would be like, you came from the future. You had to have known something, you idiot. Because we have multiple 15 seeds coming in and beating second seeds. Like, not just one. And it doesn't happen often, but we have what? Wait. I think we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 2 16 seeds beating a number 1 seed. It's unprecedented. I can't even believe it. I mean,
I'm sicking my info.
Flabbergasted.
I'm sicking my info machine, aka Freddie Airmail, to go out there and double check the stats for me. But as far as I know, there are no perfect brackets left.
No, there are none. There are 0 perfect brackets remaining.
Yeah,
that is a fact.
Is insane. That is insane. Frosty, what has your takeaway been from this March Madness?
So it's been exactly that. It's been crazy. So, I live in Indiana. I don't know how many folks know that. And one of the biggest rivalries always IU versus Purdue, right? And so I had to work on Saturday, which is terrible. But there were so many Purdue fans in that room watching the Fairleigh Dickinson game, which, according to the intel I have from New Jersey, that university is referred to as Fairleigh Ridiculous instead of Fairleigh Dickinson. I heard that, yeah. But to watch that was great. But for me, the biggest upset was Princeton making the Sweet 16 and winning by the largest margin in their school's history, and a 15 seats history in the top 32 this year. Like, to do it not once, but twice to pull an upset and get to the Sweet 16, huge deal for them.
Yeah, for sure. I will say, like, man, when I put in my bracket, I had no idea that we were going to see the likes of Baylor getting upset, the likes of Kansas getting upset. Like, I think I went in even saying last week that the Big 12 was going to be a dominant force this year. And it just, like, while they have a tough, like, strength of schedule, it just goes to show that any David against Goliath can win. That's why this tournament exists. Yep. That's why it's called March Madness. It's because it literally is just utter chaos. As our dear friend Stathead always says, he embraces chaos in sports. He loves it. He lives for it. That's why the March Madness tournament is what it is today. That's why people are so obsessed with it. I've got to say, as we're looking ahead to, we are going into the round of 16 very soon, or the quarterfinals is even like right around the corner as well. As we're diving into that, guys, who are we taking from this point on? We got the Sweet 16 happening. It's UConn versus Arkansas, UCLA, Gonzaga. We also have Alabama, San Diego State, Creighton, Princeton, Tennessee, Florida Atlantic, number 9 seed Florida Atlantic. I would never have pictured they'd still be in it. Sweet 16. Kansas State, Michigan State, and then lastly Houston, Miami, and then Texas, Xavier. Those are your final 16 teams. So of those teams, do you guys have a favorite to win it at this point?
No.
I mean, like, no. you just like, I'm not even gonna guess. Just not
no,
even.
Like there's no way to guess at this point with this year.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Who do you have info? Let's ask that question.
So in one of my brackets, I had Baylor and Texas going all the way. Texas is still in it. I think Texas still has a good shot. Houston, also a great shot. And honestly, the Midwest side of the bracket is probably the most like par for the course bracket that we've seen. They have the top 5, like basically it's a 5 seed, a 1 seed, a 2 seed, and a 3 seed for the round of 16. Like that's pretty close to what you'd expect to see if you're just following the bracket. Then you've got Tennessee, Florida Atlantic. I think Tennessee and Kansas State's taking on Michigan State. I think Tennessee, honestly, is still going to pull it out, and Kansas State will too. Michigan State, though, looking tough. Alabama, San Diego State, Princeton, Creighton. Like, I never would have predicted number 15 seed Princeton would still be in it, with number 6 Creighton still in it, much less. And they're going head to head. So it'll be interesting to see, do we have a 15 seed taking on a 1 seed in the quarterfinals? Like that would be crazy. And then UCLA is also a tough contender for me. Or Zaga. Like, Zaga knocked out my Horned Frogs. It is what it is. But UCLA they're always a competitive favorite. They've produced a lot of great basketball athletes. I still think Texas is going to pull it out, but I wouldn't be surprised to see UCLA take the dub as well. Those are my top 2, I think. What about you?
I was sleeping on Houston until recently, until they got to the tournament. They limped into the tournament. Now they look great. So I like Houston. My dark horse is San Diego State. They have a ton of tournament experience. I think they could pull out a pretty big upset.
That's a good one. Last chance, AJ.
I mean, UConn is always a good sleeper pick. I love UCLA, especially they're just a basketball college. But I'm going to go with a sleeper. I'm going to go with Creighton to win it all.
All right. Because Cinderella stories are amazing, right?
Yeah.
that'd be crazy.
You know?
Okay. Awesome. I love it. Well, we'll be back next week. I'm pretty sure that the championship game is probably going to be upon us by next week. So like about this time next week, we should know who's going to be in the championship, or at least who's in the Final Four. And we will be able to discuss those games. So make sure you tune in for that. Tonight we've got another final happening right now. I'm pretty sure Frosty has it pulled up on another monitor so he can watch it while he's on the show.
No comment.
We got the World Baseball Classic happening right this very minute. Team USA making a stunning comeback from not winning their group, taking second as a runner-up in the group, going all the way. They're competing against Japan, who is the winner of their group tonight for the World Championship. I feel like there has been so much hype around this World Baseball Classic, more than we have seen in the past. I think that's good. It's good for baseball. It's good for the sport. But guys, I want to talk a little bit more about like tonight's final. Is this exactly kind of what you predicted going in? And also, do you think this, like, there's a lot of controversy, right? We've seen a couple injuries happen through the WBC. Do you think this is something that still needs to take place? Is it becoming the equivalent? Is it becoming a contender to world sports like the World Cup? Because a lot of people are saying that this is starting to get World Cup style attention. I'd love to just have an open dialogue on it. And if you're in the chat and you've got an opinion on this, let us know too. Let's talk together about it. But Frosty, I'll let you tee this one off since you are the man when it comes to all things baseball. What are your
Mr.
thoughts
Baseball?
Mr. Baseball himself. Ice cold Frosty.
Yeah. I mean, to answer one of your many questions, I think are all great questions, but the first thing is, like, I think this is the final we expected, but this is not at all the route we thought we'd take to get here.
That's good. Yep.
Right. You saw the Dominican Republic get knocked out in pool play, who were frankly, one of the top 3 favorites, right? Probably the favorite to win this entire thing, right? They got knocked out in pool play. You see Mexico go on a heck of a run and almost knock off Japan last night. Right?
Japan barely squeezed by with that walk-off hit to be able to get that
right.
RBI in and be able to advance. Like,
right. And the round before that, the U.S. won because of a grand slam late in the game when they were down 2, right? So, like, we didn't think we were going to get here this way, but absolutely Japan and America, a lot of folks thought those were two of 3 powerhouses you could have put in there interchangeably to get here. I think it's going to be a really great game, right? It's 2 completely different styles of baseball, which is exciting. But yeah, it's been a blast. I think it's been the most fun World Baseball Classic I have seen since the inception of the event. What do you all think? Does it get you interested in baseball?
For sure. I personally love national play. I do. I love it in soccer. I love it in baseball. I love the Olympics. Like there's just something about playing for the pride of your nation and just like wearing your country's colors out there and just bearing it just for the sake of bearing it. And for you're playing for something more than yourself, playing for something more than a paycheck. Like you're there for just that, and your country. It's just really cool to see. I've got to say, I did see US, Japan, like those are my top two. Like even if you look down like World Series, like Little League World Series production, like those are the teams that are always producing young talent. That's where you see a lot of talent pool in Major League Baseball, especially as of late, because, Japan has a massively growing league that is growing very competitive. And then a lot of those athletes do end up transferring over into Major League Baseball here in the United States. And I think it was just kind of what I was thinking was going to happen. Now, whenever I watched pool play, I did not expect the U.S. to finish the way they did. I think they had a slow start. That's why they got into that runner-up position. Watching them fight back has been exciting. They've kind of like been playing from behind, and everybody like always likes an underdog or somebody who's like trying to fight their way back into it. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of like how tonight's game shakes up against both of these teams. Japan being a powerhouse, USA being a powerhouse. The question is, will the US's bats work against these Japanese pitchers who have been showing just absolutely great games throughout this entire series? So we'll just have to see. AJ, any opinions on this?
No, not really. I'm not into baseball, so this has not brought my attention to baseball at all. I think it's a slap in the face to consider this close to being close to the World Cup, because it's not.
Yeah,
it's really not, man.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I think the World Cup is still miles ahead. But I think, like, again, this is just a sign that baseball isn't dead. That baseball is still,
it's not dead.
It's on a path to recovery. There's more national interest, or international interest, I should say. And we're starting to see the sport start to gain its popularity back again. That's just kind of my thought.
But you can also say that there's a call to action for like baseball to change up. Like you can say that like baseball wasn't
pun,
around.
By the way.
I mean, all I'm saying is like, the Savannah Bananas have been getting a lot of attention before this whole World Baseball Classic. I think they're doing like better numbers, honestly, in the past couple of years than they've had ever. So there is a hunger for baseball, but I think that hunger is more, they need to find a way to make it more palpable for the average consumer, rather than, because let's be real, man, this isn't the 90s. People don't have the attention span for 9 innings of baseball. They want something quick, concise, and fun, and action packed. So
it's almost,
I think the new rules will do that, though.
Yeah. Well, and I was gonna say though, I think what the Savannah Bananas are doing is that they are really adding entertainment factors into the sport itself, similar to how fan-controlled sports has done with football, what they're about to do with hoops. So when you look at baseball, if they take that path of adding a fan control element or adding an entertainment element in the coming years, I could see it being a huge success, because you're bringing those fans back into an entertainment like type of environment. It's not just the beautiful game that it is, or the pastime, the classic that it is. It's more than Cracker Jacks and peanuts at that point for fans. It's full-on engagement, immersion, and entertainment, and that's what fans are looking for. That's what they're getting from, the NFL, from the NBA, from fan-controlled sports. And so bringing that back into baseball, giving them something else to get them excited, I think is huge. And someone who can speak on that a lot is Frosty, because Frosty actually runs a fan-controlled baseball like digital league, which is absolutely incredible. And so, I mean, do you have a take on that, Frosty?
I do. I totally agree with every point AJ just made. Like baseball, it's slow, right? It takes forever. It needs to be sped up. I think the pitch clock, although controversial, helping a lot. It's already lowered games down an average of 40 minutes in spring training, which is a huge amount of time in baseball. But I agree that there needs to be more fan engagement in baseball in order to move it forward, right? I think it still needs to be quicker. I think you do something like, I could write a whole manifesto on this, but I think you could lower it down to a best of 7 innings and do round play. So you're playing 4 or 5 innings, 6 innings, maybe. I think you can engage fans more. I think there's a lot of things you can do, right? You can lower the numbers of balls and strikes, which has historically been manipulated in baseball for entertainment purposes. I like the Savannah Bananas. I think they're too much Harlem Globetrotters for a sustainable league. But I think you bring fans in a lot of ways and reinvent baseball. But it's a sport that needs modernized and hasn't been really since the early 1900s.
Do you think, AJ, let me ask you this. Do you think like taking it to where there's less innings in a game, or even making it to where there's less games in a season, where games seem to actually have a little bit more factor, would actually help the league? Like, do you think it would actually help Major League Baseball as we go in to talk about MLB predictions? Like, do you think that that's kind of what this league needs, is something where every game really matters? Like in soccer, they only play like 30, 40 games a year, and that's it, versus they play like 150 games in a Major League Baseball season. Am I right? So
isn't basketball like 78 or 71 or
and
82?
Basketball still feels competitive even with 82 games, but sometimes I even argue that it does feel like there's still a little bit much there. That one year when they had to cram everything in because of the player strike, or then when you look at COVID and how they had to like kind of shrink down that season as well, I felt like those seasons were a lot more competitive because there was more riding on the games. So do you think that would be the case for baseball?
Yeah, potentially. I think that makes a lot of sense. Shorten the season, make the games more, purposeful. I get that. My only issue is I think there's something to keeping the games a little more consistent, because sometimes we get into those games that are like, 10, 11, 12 innings long, and you're like, come on, man, we don't need this. So I'm going to say that, but at the same time, I'm also going to say I hate the pitch clock. I think the pitch clock is a great idea until you get into like the last 2 and maybe even the last inning. A game should never be decided on a pitch clock. That's my biggest issue. Like, I like the idea of it. I like that it speeds up the game, but I hate it if a game is decided based off of that. I just think it's not cool.
So would you be cool with the pitch clock if it didn't exist in the last, like, let's say after the 7th inning?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think that's a good rule. That's a good way to implement it. But seeing a game decided by whether or not, by a pitch clock, I think is just, it kind of makes the soul of the game not the same. You can see people trying to like outgame the system or something. I can see it somehow getting like abused.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the same as basketball, right? How many basketball games end because the team didn't get up the shot before the shot clock's out, right? They had to make the same adjustments when the shot clock was in baseball. Like, the point is to get back to original baseball, which was where you didn't stand around and fiddle with your gloves forever, because you wanted to get in the right mindset, but instead you get in the box and hit the ball,
That's fair.
Let's talk season prediction. So the MLB season is like, it's right around the corner. Spring training is going well, but we're about to start regular season play very soon. What are some teams to watch out for, like, this season? Who do you think has the best shot at making it to the World Series, or perhaps winning the whole dang thing?
I know my Braves are going to be doing well, at least in the NL East. Can you not hear me?
No, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
I lost you for a second. We're back.
No. So, like I was saying, at least for the NL East, I think the Braves have the edge over everybody, which is great to say because I love my Braves. But, as the Mets are like nipping at their heels, but I think the Braves have it all. Obviously, you can't say that the Cardinals aren't going to do well, or the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers probably are the shoo-ins to me to win it all next season. But I'm going to let the man who knows and loves baseball talk about it more. So, Frosty, go ahead.
All right. The NL East, the more you talk about that division, or anyone does, the more excited I get about baseball, because even the Phillies, right, who just signed Trey Turner to a $300 million contract, no slouch of a team. That's going to be a dogfight for 100.
Well, And they're coming back with a vengeance because they were on the cusp of winning the World Series last year.
That's right.
And so they're like, well, they know what they missed out on, and they don't want to feel that way again. So if there's, what else? You add players to your arsenal, great. You add great coaching, great. Add a chip on your shoulder, even better. Like, I just feel like that's gonna help Philly, hopefully, power through this season as well.
But you got to keep in mind that Bryce Harper has elbow surgery, so he's not going to be able to come and help them until at least after the All-Star break. So you got to keep that in mind. But you're 100% right. I think the Phillies are also another team to keep an eye on. I'm looking at this website called Optanalysis, and I'm probably going to get yelled at by Freddie Airmail saying that this isn't accurate at all. But it's saying it's got like all the people ranked in the NL East, all the teams ranked in the NL East. The Mets are considered to have the third best in all of the, MLB, the third best starters. Phillies with the fifth, and the Braves with the ninth best starters. So that's a lot of firepower in starters just in the NL East. Everything gets broken down in bullpen pitching, offense, and overall, but they rank it Braves fourth, Mets fifth, Phillies sixth overall.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I think Braves are too low there for sure. Braves to me are number one, number two, like overall.
Oh, well.
For the NL East, like they're top two.
No, they're saying those teams for the overall of the MLB.
Okay,
it's the fourth, fifth, and sixth best team for the entire MLB.
So top six of the entire MLB. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but they're ranking them right next to each other. So it's like you got to think that that's gonna like Frosty said, it's gonna be a really competitive division.
Yeah, I agree.
Two teams I'm really gonna be watching this year because I want to see if they mature up because they have all the talent in the world and haven't been successful yet. The Padres and the Blue Jays, can they finally make the leap to being playoff contenders rather than teams that are just waiting to age into it? Right? They have some of the best young stars in the league are in both of those two teams, and so far they haven't been able to turn it into success. This might be the year that those two teams really come out and start winning some games.
Yeah, as a kid from Kansas City who grew up outside Kauffman Field and watched the Royals struggle and then eventually win a World Series, many years ago. They're nowhere close. They're not. So it pains me to say this, but I feel like the Cardinals have got a good shot this year. I really do.
Yeah, I do.
They seem to be a really strong team. Last year, really the only thing they had at the end of the season were Albert Pujols and his home run race. I feel like that's all Cardinals fans had to really watch for. So as a Royals fan, it pains me to say, but I think the Cardinals are actually prime to win the NL Central. I think it's going to happen. Sorry, Cubs fans. Sorry, Brewers fans. But to me, the Cards look really good. Spring training, they've been looking really good. If they can continue that momentum in the regular season, I wouldn't be surprised to see them as contenders for the series. Also, too, another team that we didn't mention because I feel like they're just a given, but World Series, champions, the Astros, they're going to be back at it. The Yankees are going to be back at it.
Astros.
I feel like, I feel like those are a given. Yeah. But how do you guys feel about the AL Central? Is there anybody there who could be a contender? I mean, you got the Twins, Guardians, and White Sox kind of taking the lead in that, but do they have a chance to compete against these other divisions?
I don't think so. I think the AL Central is probably the worst division in the MLB right now. And to go back to what Frosty was saying, the Blue Jays have to go up against the Yankees, which is going to be hard. I'd love to see that happen, but that's a difficult division. And then you got the Padres have to go up against the Dodgers too. I think those are tough. And my point in saying this is the AL Central is just, I think that's the trash can of the MLB as far as divisions go right now. I think the Twins are probably going to eke it out, but you're throwing coins at a wall, man, to try to see which one sticks, just to figure out who's going to win that one. Anyone's guess is as good as ours.
Last prediction I want us to make here on the channel is around Aaron Judge, because you brought up the Yankees. does he have as successful of a season in 2023 as he did last year?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean,
Frosty?
So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm a Yankees fan.
Okay.
And then
there it is.
And then I'm going to say no. There is no way that Aaron Judge can have as successful of a season as he did last year.
I mean,
I think he finishes somewhere. So. Yeah, I think it was an all-time great season. That doesn't happen often. I think he probably finishes around 40 home runs and 115 RBIs.
And that's not a bad season.
And everyone's going to say, what happened to Aaron Judge? Yeah. It's going to be a great season. I think he's going to be an all-star. I think he's going to be an MVP, like in the MVP running, although I think Shohei Ohtani wins the AL MVP.
He's killing it in the WCS. Yeah.
But there's no way you hit your Mr. Home Run a second year in a row and you almost win the Triple Crown 2 years in a row. So for me, he's going to have a great season. He's not going to have an all-time season.
I mean, hopefully Aaron Judge does something for a 9-year, $360 million contract. Hopefully he does something magic for the Yankee organization. But that's
rings are all that matters. Yeah, he's got to win some rings.
Yeah, he's got to bring the crown home. That's right. Absolutely.
Yep.
At the very least, he's got to get the pennant and then see where it goes from there. At the very least. So yeah, that's great. Let's move on to another sport that is not as popular in the U.S. and that's soccer. Because I thought this news was pretty crazy. St. Louis City SC, brand new team to MLS, the 31st team in the league, just set an all-time record previously set by the Seattle Sounders, I think back in 2006. I got to double check my stats here, but they are the first MLS expansion team to break 4 wins like consecutive out the gate. So undefeated 4-0 out of the gate for their inaugural season, setting a world record for basically like the most wins consecutively at the start of a season by an expansion team. They actually were just put at number 3 overall on the power rankings for all 31 teams in the MLS, which is just bonkers to me because as a fan of City, because I'm pretty close to St. Louis, so it's easy for me to cheer for the hometown team. But I've got to say, like, I had no idea that, or I could never have predicted this start. Do you think that this is going to continue to grow interest in soccer in the United States if we continue to see more things happening like this, where teams are just like having these unbelievable Cinderella story runs, or where you have these expansion teams that are going to be continue to be added in, right? Like there are talks that the next team's either going to come from San Diego or from Vegas and be added to MLS and possibly more down the line. But do you think that this is going to continue to drive popularity to the sport leading up to the World Cup in 2026?
I mean, yeah, potentially. I think this is great that more and more teams like the MLS continues to expand. I love seeing the fact that, you know, the MLS now isn't the same MLS it used to be. I remember when players in the MLS had to have second or third jobs just to continue and play this game. And now we have teams that are selling out stadiums and making it their job, their living. So to me, I think this is great. We're constantly moving in a positive direction with the, you know, the outreach of soccer within the United States. But do I think this is going to make it a household sport? No, not yet. I think we need to have as many teams in, you know, the MLS that we do in NBA and the NFL. We're getting close.
They're really close. They're
really close.
Right
they're
there.
like almost 8 teams away or something like
Less
that.
than that. No, they're at 31.
They're already at 31. Okay.
The NFL has 32. They're right there. Yeah.
Okay, so then they're right there. So I still think that there's a lot for them to do.
Yeah, good teams. Right?
Exactly.
They do need to add some more talent, I think, from Europe, and that's what you're seeing. Is you're seeing some older, more mature, more experienced players from Europe come over to play in the U.S. like in the later parts of the career. But what we're also starting to see is a lot of homegrown talent in these academies that are coming up through these teams. That, like, St. Louis just signed a 16-year-old kid to their first team, which means by the time he's 20, he's probably going to be just a starter, unbelievable. Like if he's on track and continues with that pace.
I think the key things here is the MLS needs to change from a retirement league to a league where they, like you said,
100%.
They have to be able to train these youngsters well. If people come here looking to be trained and turned into the next like superstar, that's when the MLS will be considered great. And that's when hopefully the United States as a whole starts paying attention to it, because we'll be building these quote unquote homegrown talents, which will lead to success in the international stages. Like the second the United States gets even to like the Final Four in the World Cup, or just the finals in the World Cup, imagine the amount of patriotism we will see around just the sport of soccer. You will literally indoctrinate a whole generation of youngsters the second you get to that Final Four. And it'll be great.
After we talked about last week, what they're doing with the World Cup for 2026, just how much more competitive it's going to be, how there's more teams to be played. Like there's going to be more games to be had. I mean, my son, he's 7. Okay. And he watched the World Cup for the first time last year. And his thing was this. And he's like, Dad, I want to play soccer for the U.S. men's national team. And I said, great. Put down your Nintendo, get out there and kick a soccer ball, because you're going to have to start doing that a lot more if that's where you want to be. But I mean,
unless he's playing FIFA nonstop,
right?
That would help.
But what I'm saying is like he saw that and he instantly was inspired and had a dream. And he was 6 at the time. Now he's 7. He's only one kid. And I know that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of kids just like him watching the U.S. men's team and being inspired by them. So what does the future of soccer mean here in the U.S. as, like you said, as the national team goes better, as these MLS players or American players over in Europe, like there's so many Americans playing in the Premier League right now, as they continue to show off the talent that that the U.S. actually has, like they're going to be inspired, and we're going to have more homegrown talent for sure. Power rankings right now, MLS, number 1, LAFC, no surprise, champion last year. Number 2, Cincinnati. Number 3, St. Louis. Number 4, Atlanta. Number 5, Seattle. Number 6, Philly. 7, New England. 8, New York FC. Nashville, number 9, and Dallas, number 10. Honestly, I'm not surprised by that. Atlanta's playing out of their minds. St. Louis is playing out of their minds. I think that's par for the course.
Yeah, look out for Columbus, though. I think they're going to have a strong season, too. I think they're going to crawl into that top 10.
Columbus Crew, man, for sure. We'll continue to see kind of like what they do. They just have to put together some wins, right? They can't draw out. They've got to actually score goals to get those done.
That's been their problem, yeah.
I think LAFC is going to drop fairly quickly. I think they're going to get exposed, especially now. Yeah, because to me, they don't have a secret weapon no more. Christian Bale is gone. Or not.
They won the final basically.
Not Christian Bale, Gareth Bale.
Gareth
Bale. There it is. You knew what I meant. Everybody knew what I meant. Yeah, Christian Bale. They don't have Batman anymore. No,
he wasn't good.
No, Gareth Bale. No, they don't have their secret weapon in Gareth Bale anymore. Like he saved them and legitimately was the reason they won the entire MLS Cup last year. Yeah, Batman. Sure. Yes. They needed Batman. All right. They need Batman right now. All right. But yeah, no, I genuinely think that they're going to get exposed. They are a great team. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they are the best team in the MLS. I think, honestly, I think you may be right. I think St. Louis, like, they're on a hot streak, man. I'm surprised they weren't ranked number 1. I think they're gonna surprise some people, especially like just the way they were built. The MLS is also kind of one of those leagues where new teams, if built proper, can make a huge impact in the league. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the NHL too. Like you do your supplemental draft in the NHL well, man, you can do some damage. So
yeah, look at Cincinnati a couple of years ago when they came in the league. They were immediately competitive.
Same thing happened when United's first year when they came in. Same thing. Like every new expansion team, if done properly, they can make some noise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Atlanta is, they're just absolutely killing it. They scored so many goals last week. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see that team coming out of a week where they score 5 goals. This week, Atlanta is they're actually off this week. Or no, sorry, they're playing Columbus actually. Sorry.
You know why they're doing so good though, right? It's because they're wearing the exact same jersey that they had their first season.
It's all conspiracy. It's uniform conspiracy. 100%.
I'm saying if the Hawks get the MLK jerseys back, they're gonna win it all this season. That's how it goes.
So I mean, you mentioned Columbus Crew. I think they could be dangerous, but we'll see really Saturday. If they could beat Atlanta or be competitive with Atlanta, then they just had a rough start and then they could totally be competitive. But that's the beauty of the sport is it comes down to every game every week. You've got to win. You've got to get 3 points on the board, or at least steal a point on your when you're away. Like that's what it comes down to. LA, you mentioned like you think that there's a weakness to be exploited. If there's a team that's going to exploit it, one of those top 10 teams is FC Dallas. That's who they play this week. If Dallas can rob one on the road or at least pull a draw, then that's going to help take away LAFC's momentum.
And he's gone.
He really didn't want us to hear the end of that.
He really didn't want us to. Well, I was gonna post the question to Jaden who he thinks the potential MVP of the season for the MLS is, and I guess I can't ask him that now. So, Frosty, any thoughts on that?
I'm gonna double in. I'm going Zellaray. Like that's my MVP of the year, and I think that's the only way Columbus makes the playoffs. So.
That's fair. I think
who you got?
Honestly, I'm gonna go with Thiago Almada, just because like he's making such a difference. He was a part of almost every single one of the that happened this past weekend with Atlanta United, and he has the experience of working with Lionel Messi this past year and getting that World Cup win. I think. The combo between the two, why not? I think he has a spotlight on him, and this is his opportunity to shine. I think Jaden's back.
And that's why I was saying that St. Louis. Yeah. Oh, hey guys. I totally accidentally clicked exit on my window, like where the
that's funny.
Yeah, my bad, guys. So anyway, MLS is great. Soccer is cool.
Do you have an MVP favorite? We were just talking about ours.
MVP
for the MLS, yes.
I don't know if Klaus keeps playing like he's playing for St. Louis. Like, dude, I know that might be a homegrown pick right there. But the other night, okay, so let me set this up for you. Klaus is this big like European guy. He's like 6'3", 6'4".
But he's homegrown.
No. When I say homegrown favorite, I mean like homegrown. Like I'm picking a hometown favorite. I should say.
We all picked our favorite, so that's
we did.
Klaus is just this big, tall German guy who you would not think has handles at all. And last week I saw one of the best like drives I've seen so far this season. He dribbled past 3 defenders in the box and shot right through the goalkeeper's legs and scored the second goal of the game this week in St. Louis. Like I wish I had brought a highlight reel to share, but it was probably one of the best goals that St. Louis has had this season. Because this is my only thing about St. Louis. Okay. They've been handed a lot of goals this year. There's been bad passes that have set St. Louis up for success. There's been penalties, you name it. St. Louis has been set up to be very successful because of the talent they were playing and just because they capitalize on mistakes. Question is, if they play a team like LAFC or United, who is not known to make mistakes, can they pull out a dub or play as strongly? Because they're capitalizing on mistakes. But Klaus, that was one goal. Like, for sure, he took it all the way. It was him. He could win if they continue this streak. He could be an MVP. But we'll see how things are going. Let
me say the last thing about MLS. I got to plug this.
Okay.
I don't know if you all saw this. The USL Indy 11 just announced a $1.1 billion soccer stadium development in Indianapolis. We got to get an MLS team. We got to get an MLS team, right? You got a USL team building this. I think it's going to sit something like 30,000 people.
So that is them trying to say, hey, look at us. Yeah. We want to be an expansion team too. And I love that for Indiana because Indiana doesn't
last expansion team.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think they're going to expand past 32. I think if the demand is there and fans are filling seats, and they will add beyond 32 teams. I really do think that. I think there's a race to 32 because there's just this theory that it's going to close out at 32. But if Indiana is selling out a stadium that huge and they're putting it together, why not? What other? I mean, they don't have.
They got to take some
sports.
No, they got to take Indiana, some from
right.
They got to move
Detroit
teams. They have to move teams. There's too many New York teams. You got to move either the New York City Football Club or the Red Bulls. You got to move one of those. You got to move what? There's 2 LA teams. You got to pick one.
LA teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you look at even Chicago. They're only averaging about 12,000 fans. They're the bottom of the league. Like maybe Chicago team out.
They've got the Pacers and they've got the Colts, and that's it. Right?
That's it.
In terms of professional sports, and those are.
Yep.
So I mean,
I think Vegas needs an MLS team. I can say give Vegas as many professional teams as you can. Why? Because people like to gamble and they like to go to those games with money on the line. Why not?
Yeah. I agree. Who knows, man? I would love to see. Personally, I would love to see them build MLS up enough. Or grow USL up enough to where it could be competitive to like Premier League in a championship,
like a relegation.
Have a relegation league. I think that would make the U.S. soccer way more competitive if there's something on the line like that. Like, oh, we'll get demoted unless we win. Like, I would love to see it grow to that, but we'll see. You don't think that'll make it more competitive, or are you saying that you don't think fans
it's going to
happen?
Like no, I don't think it's going to happen because the only way that I can see that happening is if they start including like other leagues, like, the Mexican League or something like along those lines, like South American League.
They just announced, by the way, that there is going to be a tournament across the U.S. between U.S. MLS teams and La Liga Mexico teams.
Yeah.
And they're doing like a combined cup. So, I mean, who knows? Like, with the
maybe
partnership
not too
that's
far
coming
away.
up for the World Cup, with this new league being announced, maybe that's going to happen one of these days. To see La Liga get adopted by MLS would be insane. I mean, we already have Canadian teams. Why not add in La Liga as well? Like, that'd be cool.
Then you could have a relegation system.
Yeah,
that may be
100%.
Enough teams.
100%. All right, let's go ahead and continue this conversation. We're going to do a real quick hit into. I would say let's talk XFL, but we really don't have a lot of time. Here's my take on XFL. We can talk about it for like 2 minutes if you guys want. I am slowly losing interest, like just in XFL. I don't know why. It's just not there for me. It's just not. I don't know what happened. I just feel like, I don't know. I can't explain it. They're losing national interest. And I don't know if that's because of March Madness can definitely make them take a slump in terms of ratings and stuff. Like this week was an all-time low for ratings for the league. So we'll see kind of what happens next week. Next week, there is one nationally televised game. It's the Orlando Guardians.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to have anything to offer to help draw in fans, be like, oh, this is interesting. I want to watch it. So hopefully the XFL can bounce back and pull some interest. But that's all I got. Like I look at week 5. There was one big upset, right? Brandon Silvers in Houston. Like he totally lost that game. He threw a pick, and the Sea Dragons run away with that dub. Like that was my big takeaway from week 5. Travis Toynevin, it's good to see him back catching passes.
Great.
Love Trav Daddy. I'd rather him come back to the FCF so I can watch it more and all the time, but wouldn't we all? That means trying to make it in the league. So
okay, so Frosty, I agree with info on this. I think the XFL. I've lost interest a long time ago. Maybe it's the fact that the Guardians weren't great, but even when Trav Daddy came back, I watched that game and I just wasn't interested. What do you think that is, guys? Like, I want to know, because like I think it's something about like the NFL has more interesting shots. I think their promo packages is better. I think the same goes for the FCF. Like, you see the drone shots that make it more interesting, makes it feel like you're a part of it. They also have the crane camera similar to the NFL. Like, I feel like it's better shots that make it more dynamic and interesting. What is it about this that makes it so boring? Like, I love the fact that they explain the rules. That's great. But besides that, I'm struggling watching. I fall asleep watching this.
I just think it's a difference to me, I think it's a difference in talent. But I want to hear from Frosty.
I think that's part of it. I think a couple things that really bother me about it. One, they have 6 professional looking teams and 2 that are clearly not. And so I can't watch a game that the Vipers are playing. I can't watch a game that Orlando's playing, especially if it's at home for either of those 2 teams. But also they're playing the game super late at night. So you're watching a rerun unless you're staying up until 1 or 2 in the morning. They like there's not enough innovation there. The second generation of the XFL, right, that got canceled early, was all about bringing in new ideas. This one just feels like college football light to me. And so it's, for me, it's not there. I do like to watch the St. Louis games because that crowd is into it. I think that adds a lot to it. But generally I find 1, maybe 2 games a week that I'm interested in watching, and then after that,
Jim backstage running the 1s and 2s for us. Shout out to Jim being awesome and bringing all of his Raiders over. He says boring. That's all he says.
Yeah, no,
we're in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have to agree. I think as much as you want to say maybe a talent-based thing, info, like I make the comparison to the FCF and the fact that, like, you can say similar like level of talent and it's way more interesting. Maybe it's the fact that they do a better job of making you feel attached to the teams.
I'm not attacking the talent level of the players. I'm talking about talent disparity between teams. Like,
that's fair.
How I don't feel like the talent is evenly distributed. We talked about this on the show a few weeks ago. One of the things that makes the FCF so competitive, even in late season, is you have 4 weeks to figure out your team. Yeah. You draft your team, and by the end of that 4 weeks, it's somehow pretty balanced. Like, anybody can win. Yeah. That's why you have teams make magic runs like the Zappers, who just came back out of nowhere and won the whole dang thing last season. It's always competitive. I mean, there were even games where, the Gutter Cats, they didn't get a lot of wins, but they were in a lot of games where they came down to the wire almost every game. And that was because, these guys are good. Freddie Airmail, yes, I'm reading it. Talent disparity within the league, 100%. Coaching disparity, messy play, penalties. You guys are reading this right, 100%. Yeah, I agree. Those are all things. But again, I think the FCF has the magic juice. They got the magic stuff. They keep fans engaged every play. You want to know why? You're either predicting what the other offenses are calling, or you're calling a play yourself. There's nothing else more engaging in sports. I can't wait to see how hoops is going to roll out. It's going to be exciting. I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready to have a whole other realm of people be exposed to fan-controlled sports, because it really does set the next level for sports engagement. Let's move on. Talking entertainment. Did you guys watch Ted Lasso last week? Season 3 kicked off. Episode 1. It was pretty good, man. I got to say, it was pretty good. It was everything I needed, but also just shy of what I needed for it to be perfect. But again, I think it's building up to be, it's setting the table for what could be a great season. Without giving away spoilers, there's a lot of character development happening. You're starting to see a little bit more into why certain things happen in the end of season 2, starting to see what could be potentially where things go in season 3. Did you guys watch it? Did you guys enjoy it? What did you think? That's the question.
I'm a huge Ted Lasso guy. I'm going to wait until the end of the season, watch it all
binge
in 2 days. Yeah. It's a show that has no right being as good as it is. It has 100%. Everything. It's so good. And they've clearly been building to this overarching story that you didn't realize was coming until really this season starts. Right. Yeah. And so it's amazing. I'm waiting till the end, so don't spoil it for me, but I want to watch it all at once.
Oh, I definitely won't. And again, I think they even talked about this yesterday on our newest show here on FCTV, Back to Work. They talked a little bit about Ted Lasso yesterday. And one of the things that was said was whenever they were watching, Ted Lasso for the first time, the thing that happened was like the first 2 episodes were like, okay, yeah, it's pretty good. But then by like episode 4 of the first season, they're like, I love sports and this is why. Like this right. is it. And I feel that. And like even now, starting in our 3rd season, I still feel that way. Like I'm like, man, like there's just a lot more heart behind this. And I really appreciate it. I love the character development. I think it's great. AJ, did you check out the season premiere? Are you going to wait to binge it?
No, I watched it not once, but twice.
Hey, wow. There you go.
Yeah. No, I watched it one time by myself, and then I watched it again with my fiance on the flight back. I love Ted Lasso. I think it's great. It like you said, great character development, great story, like, story arc definition. It does have a lot of foreshadowing on what may potentially be the issues that come across this season. To me, all it really did was make me hate Nate more. Just that's pretty much all it really did. Like, I don't understand. That's the one character that, like, I kind of get what he's doing, but at the same time, like, I'm like, but why? You just don't want to be like, you don't want to be picked on. You don't want to be thought of as
a cringe factor for sure. But I feel like that's what the show needed, right? Like, it's season 1 and 2, like they were kind of building Rupert out to be this big villain, but I don't know if he was villain enough for the show because he wasn't as involved as Nate. So now we see this happening season 3. So it's going to be crazy to see how
Nate breaks my heart. Nate breaks my heart every time.
I
think about, like, every time I see him now, right? I think about that one scene where he's like, "Man, I had a dream where I was mean to you. I'm sorry." That whole like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what happened to you, man? Like, what happened to you? Like, I know what happened. I watched it.
Well,
but what happened?
And what you'll see is you almost see like this inner clash. And I won't spoil it again. But the crazy part is like they make you hate Nate even more, but also have sympathy for him in this first episode. They do a good job of doing both. These writers are so dang good. And the actors portraying like what is written in this way, like just it's so believable. It's so good. Yeah, man. So definitely check that out. The ticket 412 says, when does hoops start? It's coming soon, my guy. We're talking summer. So you guys stay tuned. Follow our social channels. It's there. Afro powering sending you info over in the chat. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to talk about this. We don't have to get into the weeds too, but Mandalorian, I watched this week, and whenever I was watching, I felt like they were really trying to take on what Andor did in terms of like world building and character development. I don't know if they went too far with it or what they're doing, but I want to like talk and see, like, did you guys watch Mandalorian this past week? Like, any takeaways from it? Were you into it? Did you dig it? Did you feel like it was there? I'll start off by saying that the first like 10 minutes of the show was probably like, it was really sick and probably some of the best moments we've seen. It was like top 10 moments, I would say, in Mandalorian, like the dogfighting and all that kind of stuff. Loved it. Super awesome. And then we cut away and then it kind of plays into like some more world building, character development, but not Mandalorian. So I guess, like, do you feel like it was well placed, well timed? Do you think it's going to have a big payoff that we're going to see this season? What are your initial thoughts there without like spoiling too much for people at home?
I think Mandalorian's at its best when it's like replaying Old West tropes to me, right? Like, he's just a guy out in the middle of nowhere doing a thing, right? Like, I don't think it doesn't need
episode 1, whenever it's him and a high magistrate staring down the gunslingers outside the school. Like, it felt so Western right there. It was awesome.
Like that's when it's at its best. Like, I get why we got to do the world building, right? There's already, like, Disney's talked about, we're going to cross over a bunch of these things at some point. So you got to do some world building to put it together. But honestly, like, I just want to go see him cowboy some stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I like about the show, and that's what I like specifically about that character, right? Is him just kind of being that Old West gunslinger.
It's the two things that you like seeing, right? and I would say the same thing for Last of Us. That it's that relationship, that dad figure, that mentor figure. When you see that side of the Mandalorian, you love that. When you like the Western side, the action side, the bounty hunter side, you love that.
Yeah.
And then we have this branch off side where there's a lot of story happening, and there's a lot of deep cuts for Star Wars fans that kind of follow everything. But then there's a lot of new stuff, and everyone's kind of uncovering it. I will say though, like that 100%, like when it cuts away, sometimes I can get lost. I just don't think it's necessarily as good. I feel like Andor though, they just did something completely different with character development, but it never really cut away from like the lead character. There was character development happening, but it wasn't cutting away fully from what was happening in place. I just hope that they don't pull like a Boba Fett where they literally take entire episodes and cut away from the main character and what's happening. That's just me. So yeah. AJ, did you watch Mando? Are you into that show at all, or?
I do. I did. It was interesting. I think, you kind of got to give them an opportunity to write. I think I'm excited about the world building personally, purely because there's so much lore to Star Wars that we've never seen in like an IRL setting or even outside of like novels. So like there's a lot like the Gray Jedi. I want to see make an appearance at some point somehow. I want them to go back and do a bunch of other things, but I know they're building up to something, and I just want them to build it up perfectly because they have an opportunity. To me, these like Mandalorian shows and like Andor, they're throwaway in the fact that like you can waste as many as you want episodes on building, because they could just add extra ones if they really wanted to.
True.
So it's not, a movie. If it was a whole movie wasted on something like this, then I'd be like, all right, stop that. Not cool. But like it's a TV show. I'm willing to spend out of like a 10 episode season. Give me 2 or 3 filler episodes with like world building, and I'll be happy. I'm not mad.
Yeah. More Star Wars is not a bad thing. Right.
No.
Yeah.
Especially, because this last episode was relevant. Like it follows a character that's been told, his story's been told before. So it's kind of nice where in the fact that it brings back someone and keeps the story going in a different manner.
I feel like they're also doing a good job they're using this material to patch holes that we don't have written about the sequel trilogy.
Sure. Exactly.
There was a lot of things that came up in the sequel trilogy where it's like, hey, like, that was crazy. Like, it's interesting. I wouldn't have predicted them going this way. But now we're starting to see, okay, we're actually going to see some unraveling on the lead up to that, which I think is cool. Like, I love that. But we'll see. Anything else you guys are watching? Like, I was watching The Last of Us on Sunday nights, and then that, like, disappeared. I think Josh McCouga tweeted about that, too. He's like, so what do I do with Sunday night now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, what do I do? But anything else on your radar in terms of like shows that you guys are watching right
now? Not really. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you watched Poker Face, but that also just ended and it was like really good.
Okay.
It's like
what network was that on?
It was on Peacock.
Okay, I'll check it out.
How I Met Your Father, which is like Hillary Duff's version on Hulu. Not bad. Every Tuesday. My favorite one that I've been watching though is Daisy Jones and the Six, and it's on Amazon Prime.
Dude, Josh mentioned that I think yesterday on his show as well.
I mean, I'm gonna be real. I didn't watch the show yesterday. Sorry, Josh. But dude, it's really good. Like from a musician like perspective, like this is like one of 2 or 3 times I can talk and be like, I have experience and I know what the blank I'm talking about.
He says he likes it just because the band's from Pittsburgh.
Well, okay, it is, but it's like loosely based on Fleetwood Mac, and the funniest part is like I've been watching it with my fiance, and like I pause every so often to be like, you know what? If I was this person, I'd do this, and then they end up doing it later on in the show, and I'd pause it and be like, this guy is really acting the proper way. Or like, I'm just gonna say this: like, both lead singers at one point, I was like, that lead singer is like the bassist, great portrayal of a bassist. I feel him every time he does anything. Everything he says, I'm like, I've been in that position. Both lead singers full of themselves. Perfect portrayal of lead singers. They're egotistical. They think that the band is theirs. Great. Love it. Honest portrayal. It's maddening how good it is because there's so much accuracy there. But my favorite character, and I'm gonna do a little spoiler because this character is great in the fact that like so far it's not significant, but he just plays his role so well. And it's Timothy Oliphant, and he's the tour manager. And if there are any tour managers or prospective tour managers out there that want to know what being a good tour manager is, watch this show. Watch Timothy Oliphant's character. He is my dream tour manager if there was ever a tour manager to have. The man knows what he's doing. He's great job. And yeah, I recommend that show. I think it's great.
Gotcha. Cool, man. All right, Frosty, anything else for you, man? Any other shows on your radar?
Yeah, two pop up. I just finished Agretzko from Netflix. If you haven't watched Agretzko, it's like this anime about this worker who sings karaoke of metal music to get through the workday. It's a great story about capitalism that you should watch. It just finished its last season. It's amazing, awesome, and heartfelt. And then the one I'm most excited for premieres, I think, on Friday, right? Is season 2 of Yellow Jackets, season 1 of Yellow Jackets.
Oh, yeah, Yellow Jacket had a lot of hype in season 1.
So good. And so I'm excited for season 2.
Okay. Well, that's what we're watching here at the M4 Arcade. I had a topic on here if we had time, but I think we're kind of low on time. And that was, is The Office the greatest TV show ever? But I think I'm going to table that for a different week. So, let me know. Like, we'll talk about that soon. But here is our boss battle. So each and every week here on the M4 Arcade, we do a boss battle where we all go head to head. And we have a really fun topic for you this week. Can we go ahead and roll that bumper and let's get started with boss battle?
Choose your character.
This is going to be a heated one because it's so random. And I'm interested to know what you guys are going to say. But this week's boss battle is you've just been appointed to pick the next fan-controlled sport. But your choices are given to you, and you have to choose from them out of this list. The choices you have are bowling, badminton, or mini golf. What are you picking as the next fan-controlled sport and why? Let me know in the chat, too, what you're picking. And Frosty, since you're a guest on the show, if you want to go, I'll let you choose to go first or last. Your preference.
Give me last.
Last. Okay. AJ, you want to go?
Sure. I know exactly what I'd do. I would walk in confidently, kick the doors down, throw a 80s boombox on the table, press it, and it would have basically the intro of the Chicago Bulls. And I'd be like, this is what we're going to pick. And I'm going to say no to all three and present dodgeball because dodgeball needs to be the next fan control sport. And they would show that's what I'm going to do. And that's how I'm going to end it because as much as I would say mini golf is probably the best one, they're all not great. You can't build new mini golf courses every week because that's the only way it'd be cool is if like fans could build new courses every week and build it.
What if fans could vote on the mini golf holes that are chosen each and every week?
It's not
you get to vote on which mini golf players you draft to your team every week. And like they do like teams of 4. And then I don't know, like there's so many things you can do. I would say mini golf, but a close second, badminton is also up there. Like, what if
it'd be dodgeball? Sorry.
AJ Cal never plays by the rules. He's like, I'm the king. I demand it. I do what I want. That's AJ.
That's how I live life. Yes.
That's life. I'm going mini golf. I think there's a lot you can do. Badminton to me is a close second. I don't feel like there's a whole lot you could do with bowling unless Frosty's about to like totally prove me wrong with like some like meta theory like I've never even thought of before, which totally could happen. Totally could happen.
Okay.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted on bowling. All right, think about this.
Okay, I want to hear why, and then I want to finish my argument. But you go first.
All right. So you could do all kinds of good stuff, right? You could do like make the LED lane, right? Similar to FC hoops.
Okay.
Right? The ball has to land when you throw it out within a circle, right? You get extra points for that. Light up pins red and blue. So you get bonus points if you knock down the blue pins. Red pins, you lose points if they go down. So a strike could be worse than knocking down like 8 pins, right? And the fans could choose which pins are protected, which ones stay up. How far you got to throw the ball out there. Okay. They could vote to put up the little walls.
This isn't even bowling anymore, and I love it.
Yeah, you could put up the little walls like Wii Sports. You guys remember Wii Sports? They put up the wall and the obstruction 100%. You have to go over. You just have the
100 pin bowling too. Like
you could have the alley raise up in certain points that the fans choose. Like there's so much customization in bowling. Like we'd be missing an opportunity, honestly, not to do it tomorrow. Okay,
considering that was a really strong argument, way stronger than I actually expected. I've got to go. Okay, AJ, you kind of said mini golf, so I won't take you. You can go mini golf.
You didn't even let me explain why I said dodgeball, man. Like my dodgeball idea is great.
Fine,
okay?
You can pitch your dodgeball thing, okay? But let me go mini golf then. Okay, mini golf.
Then you take it.
Fans could design like basically their course, and what that looks like is there's 9 holes played every week. Fans get to vote on which holes are placed in what order. They can vote on what clubs like each player gets to use, and they all have different effects. They can vote on different balls, which will have different effects. And basically some will be heavier than others. Some will be harder hitting. And then they can even like have some kind of thing to even play off the course. Like, hey, like this course has a magnetic effect to it, but there are certain balls that won't have like, they're not made of metal or they are made of metal. And so therefore it would give you an advantage or a disadvantage. I like the LED like thing, like adding some ability, like to where there's like a secret hole, like you could find like by following LEDs, like to a secret like way to score a hole in one on a hole. Like that'd be sick. So for me, I think mini golf is a clear answer, and fans would be able to vote on some of the most insane like obstacles on every hole. That to me, I just think it's a shoo-in. Where I live, there are about 45 mini golf courses in the city I live in. So not exaggerating. It's stupid. Wow. So I could see where it would go. Yeah. And who knows? They might even have a giant like Glacier Boy Bear cameo where this polar bear like tries to come down and eat the golf ball. Like that would be it, right?
There you go. Or they choose your club, and some things could not be clubs. One's a rubber chicken, and that's a power up.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, it'd be like there's actually a sport they like do like some golf replacement, but like I think Dude Perfect's done it where like they play a round of golf, but it's like replacement golf. So like every hole you get to use, or every stroke you get to use a different thing, but you can only use it one time, like a tennis racket, a baseball bat. Yeah. That'd be a fun addition. So that's that. AJ, tell me why you were throwing everything off the table and picking dodgeball.
All right. Now imagine we have an LED court. Okay. That's great. We can utilize that. Now imagine LED balls. Okay. And each ball represents different things. Not only that, when the person gets hit, the ball will change colors so that nobody can lie about whether or not they've been hit. First one. Second, you got special balls. An exploding ball that takes not only one person, but the people all around it. You get vests that light up when you lose. The floor explodes underneath the person. Not only that, you can get the double save on certain balls. You can have a sticky ball that makes, if that person goes out, everyone around him, if lit up underneath the LED, has like to stand still. Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Exactly. There are so many things you could do with, the LED technology and dodgeball. Not only that, it's dodgeball. Think of the team names, the costumes you could have, the entrances you could do. The fan controlled level could be extreme, because think of how the fans could, unleash certain special balls for certain teams. I'm saying balls so much that I'd never think I'd be saying balls this much before in my life. It'd be amazing. Okay. The special amount of special balls, it'd be spectacular. All right. Just think of the ball madness.
Yeah, everyone loves the special balls. It's true. Yeah, that's a great argument. Let us know what you think at home. What are you bowling? Bowling, badminton, dodgeball, mini golf? Let us know in the chat. Tweet at us. We'd love to entertain the conversation. And we want to know what you think on who you agree with more. So hit us up on socials, or you guys can vote. We'd love to know. Anyway, that is tonight's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to listen to all of our talk about all the balls and sports things and all the things, entertainment. So I guess at this point now, we all just need to write a letter to SOAR and just be like, yeah, so we just came up with like your next 4 fan controlled sports.
That's right.
We're just ready for them to happen. So I guess that's what we're going to do now. So we're all going to like hop off the air and get to work on that. We also still have to continue to work on rules for basketball, because that's the thing. If you're in the Discord, you throw that back. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching the show live. Thank you for interacting. I appreciate you, Jason Wright, Freddie Airmail. You guys are legends. Everybody else who's hopped on, Yab to stream. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Until next time, remember, we are here for you, because it's all about this. Power to the fans. See you next week.